They shoved me into the throne hall with the enthusiasm of movers delivering a package they hoped would explode. The doors parted, and a wave of shimmering light washed over me. The Saran architecture loved dramatic entrances. Floating lanterns drifted in slow orbits above the marble floor, powered by microgravity coils that hummed like content bees. Rows of nobles stood on each side, their long ears angled backward in a unified expression that even across species clearly meant disapproval bordering on fury. I tried smiling. It didn't help. One noble actually gasped as if I'd committed a second crime by showing teeth. The guards pushed me forward until I stood in the direct path of Queen Valoria, whose reputation for strict justice was known across 7 systems, and whose expression suggested she was about to invent new forms of justice just for me. Her skin had the pale shimmer of starlight, and her blonde hair fell in spiraling waves that would have made ancient poets retire out of jealousy. Even her ears looked regal, smooth, elongated, carved like something a sculptor would break chisels trying to replicate. I knelt because the guards encouraged me to, with what I would generously call firm diplomacy. The cold marble touched my knees, and I wondered if the queen preferred executions, fast or slow. Hopefully fast. Slow executions tended to involve too many ceremonial speeches. A court official stepped forward to read my charges, delivering each word with the dramatic intensity of someone auditioning for a galactic opera. Lycan of Earth, you stand accused of sabotage leading to the catastrophic failure of a diplomatic transport. Explain yourself. I did explain myself, I said. 3 times, loudly, and once while being carried upside down. A ripple of offended murmurs moved across the hall. Queen Valoria raised one slender hand for silence, and the room froze so completely that even the floating lanterns seemed to hold their breath. Present the evidence, she commanded. A series of hollow screens materialized in the air, showing the transport's engine compartment. I recognized my own repairs immediately. Clean, precise, absolutely not sabotage. But the vessel was ancient, older than some cities I'd lived in, and its maintenance logs were so neglected they probably had dust allergies. My queen, I said carefully, that ship didn't crash because of me. It crashed because someone thought routine maintenance was a myth. More murmurs. Someone muttered that humans were incapable of respecting sacred machinery. Another said humans barely respected gravity. A fair point, considering my cousin once collided with a ceiling fan while attempting zero-G yoga. Queen Valoria's eyes narrowed. The court demands accountability. The consequences of this failure were severe. A life was lost. My breath caught. I bowed my head. I know, Your Majesty. I grieve for that pilot. But I swear on every star I've ever repaired, there was no sabotage. Nothing moved. Not a whisper. Not a lantern. Not even my courage, which was slowly leaking out of me like air from a cracked fuel line. Then, footsteps. Soft, deliberate, echoing across the polished floor. Princess Selira descended the royal platform, and the hall reacted the way a forest reacts to sudden lightning. Stillness, tension, awe. She was unmistakable, blue skin warmed by streaks of gold light reflecting from the ceiling, long golden hair woven with metallic ribbons, and luminous eyes that seemed to read thoughts you didn't know you were broadcasting. Her ears were shaped like her mother's but with a gentle upward curve at the tips, giving her a look both elegant and perpetually curious. I had seen her once, weeks ago, when I repaired her personal shuttle. She'd crouched beside me, asking questions about nav cores and star maps with the enthusiasm of someone who genuinely liked learning how things worked. I thought she'd forgotten me the moment she walked away, but now she approached as though she'd crossed half the galaxy just to reach me. She stopped directly before me. The hall fell into a silence so heavy it had mass. "Rise," she said softly. I didn't move, mostly because my brain had disconnected from my limbs. She gently took my hand. Warm, confident, completely impossible. She pulled me to my feet, and the guards actually stumbled back, unsure whether to intervene or start writing resignation letters. Princess Selira turned toward her mother, still holding my hand like she meant it. Her voice carried through the chamber, calm and unwavering. "Mother, I want to take this human as my husband. Chaos detonated. Nobles yelled, advisors fainted, guards grabbed their weapons, then immediately put them back, because no one wanted to be the first to annoy the royal heir. Even the lanterns drifted off their programmed paths in sheer confusion. I stared at Salira, wondering if this was some Thessaran legal loophole I didn't understand. Maybe marriage proposals paused executions? Or maybe I'd actually died earlier, and this was the world's strangest afterlife orientation. Queen Valoria remained frozen on her throne, her expression shifting through disbelief, outrage, and something far more complicated. Salira's fingers tightened around mine, steady, certain, and in that breathless moment, I realized my life had just changed more drastically than any malfunctioning star engine ever could. The silence that followed was so intense I could hear my own heartbeat, specifically the part where it tried to climb out of my chest and leave the palace without me. Queen Valoria's expression had frozen into the kind of calm that suggested multiple internal systems were overheating. Her long ears angled slightly backward, a subtle but unmistakable sign that she was considering options ranging from political negotiation to interstellar grounding of her own daughter. Meanwhile, Princess Salira continued holding my hand as though proposing marriage in front of 700 horrified nobles was perfectly normal court etiquette. Her grip felt steady, warm, and deeply incompatible with my current instinct to flee at light speed. "Explain yourself," the queen finally said, her voice steady as a laser scalpel. Salira stepped forward, pulling me with her, which meant that technically I stepped forward too, even if my legs were just along for the ride. "Mother Lycan is innocent. I know his skill, his integrity, and his mind. When my shuttle malfunctioned weeks ago, he rebuilt its nav core with such precision that even the palace engineers asked how he managed it." Then she angled her head slightly, smiling just enough to reveal how dangerous royal charm could be. "He is exceptional." The nobles erupted again. Someone shouted that humans were too impulsive for marriage alliances. Another yelled something about ancient traditions. One particularly dramatic noble fainted for the second time that day, which really felt like showing off. I leaned towards Salira and whispered, "Do I need to bow or something? I feel like bowing is expected." She whispered back, "Only if you enjoy unnecessary knee pain." The queen rose slowly, and the hall snapped to silence so quickly that even the fainted noble startled awake. Valoria studied me like I was an unfamiliar device she wasn't sure would explode or make tea. "This declaration," she said, "is unprecedented. You understand the chaos you invoke?" Salira's ears lifted slightly, a Thessaran gesture of determination. "I do." "And you," the queen said, turning her attention to me, "did you know of this intention?" Her gaze landed on me with the gravitational force of a small sun. "Absolutely not, Your Majesty," I said, my voice cracking with the enthusiasm of a malfunctioning comm unit. "I did not even know royal proposals were allowed without a permit." A few nobles gasped. Salira bit back a laugh. Valoria closed her eyes for a long moment, the kind of moment rulers take when mentally reordering entire political systems just to accommodate one astonishingly stubborn daughter. When she finally spoke, her voice was quiet but carried through every corner of the throne hall. "Enough. The court will cease its noise. I will personally oversee the investigation into the transport crash. Until the truth is determined, Lycan will not be executed." I exhaled so hard I nearly folded in half. "However," the queen continued, "he will remain within the palace under observation, and this proposal will not influence the outcome of the investigation." Salira's hand remained in mine. "Understood." The hall buzzed again, but this time the queen silenced them with a single raised finger. "This court is dismissed." As everyone began to scatter, some muttering, some glaring, some rushing off to update scandal logs, I found myself guided by Salira toward the exit. The guards followed us closely, though one of them seemed more confused than threatening. Once we were beyond the main hall, I finally let the chaos in my mind spill into words. "So just to clarify, did I actually get proposed to, or was I part of a highly sophisticated political maneuver that I require subtitles for?" Salira paused in the corridor, her golden hair catching the soft blue glow of the floating sconces. "Both, I suppose," she said. "You were in danger. I chose the option with the highest probability of protecting you." "That was your best option? Not, I don't know, a strongly worded letter?" She gave me a sidelong look. "A letter would not have stopped an execution." "Fair," I admitted. "But marriage?" Her expression softened. "It was the fastest way to disrupt the court's momentum. And it was not entirely without sincerity." My brain stalled. "Wait, what?" She walked forward again, expecting me to follow. I did, because staying behind would have required thinking, and I wasn't capable of that anymore. We reached a balcony that overlooked the palace gardens, vast platforms suspended in midair by anti-gravity beams, each one filled with luminous plants that shimmered like galaxies in miniature. The sight almost distracted me from the fact that a royal princess may have actually meant what she said. Salira rested her hands on the railing. "When you repaired my shuttle, you spoke of the stars as though they were friends you missed. I remembered that. Most people speak of them like assets or destinations. I didn't think you listened that closely." "I listen closely to many things," she said, "especially the things that make me curious." I felt my face warm. "Well, curiosity is nice. Marriage is significantly larger." A shimmering bird with translucent wings flew past us, chirping in a frequency humans definitely weren't designed to enjoy. Salira smiled at it, then turned her gaze back to me. "You're safe for now," she said gently. "My mother will search for the truth. She is strict, but she is not unjust. If she finds that you are innocent, all this chaos may resolve peacefully." "And if she doesn't?" I asked. Salira considered the question. "Then I will create more chaos." "Right," I muttered. "Excellent. Perfect. Nothing terrifying there." She laughed softly, and something inside me loosened. For the first time since my arrest, I felt my lungs fully work. But before I could relax completely, a guard approached and bowed. "Princess, the Queen requests your presence." Salira nodded, then turned to me one last time. "Stay in the palace. Do not worry. And please, do not let the guards frighten you." "I won't," I said, "unless they continue looking at me like I'm a dessert someone dropped on the floor." Her smile returned, warm and bright. "I will see you soon." And then she was gone, leaving me in the glowing gardens of an alien palace, wondering how a single moment in a throne room had managed to rewrite the entire trajectory of my life. My temporary guest quarters turned out to be a luxurious room with floating furniture, self-adjusting temperature fields, and a bed so soft I briefly wondered if sinking into it counted as self-sabotage. Still, the presence of two guards stationed outside my door made sure I didn't get too comfortable. Every few minutes, their shadows flickered under the threshold like nervous manta rays. Days passed, though in the palace, time flowed strangely under artificially modulated skylights. Princess Salira visited often, sometimes with updates on her mother's investigation, sometimes simply to talk. She had an easy way of making the impossible feel survivable. She laughed when I confessed I'd tried to bow to an automatic door that startled me. She listened when I explained how humans used to navigate stars by instinct rather than calculation. And whenever palace staff glared at me, she glared back twice as intensely, which was honestly more protection than any guard. But beneath the jokes and soft moments, tension thrummed like an engine tuned too tightly. Queen Valoria was searching for answers, and the answers she found would determine whether I was enjoying fancy palace air or being escorted to a much less breathable location. On the fifth day, everything changed. Salira stormed into my quarters with the momentum of a meteor just discovering how gravity works. Her long ears were angled forward sharply, signaling distress, or possibly the desire to yell at several politicians. "My mother has uncovered the truth," she said. I stood, bracing myself. "And by truth, do we mean good truth or the kind that requires intergalactic legal representation?" She took my hands, both of them, which alarmed me immediately. "The sabotage was real, but not by you. Members of the High Council tampered with the transport to undermine my mother's authority. They planned to blame a human to avoid suspicion." I sagged in relief, then stiffened again. Wait, undermine the queen? Isn't that punishable by large unpleasant consequences? Extremely, Salira said. She is addressing them now. Addressing, I repeated, as in politely discussing their misconduct? She did not answer, which told me everything. Moments later, a guard arrived. Lycan of Earth, the Queen summons you. I followed him through corridors that twisted like the illuminated veins of a nebula. At times, gravity tilted subtly beneath my feet, a deliberate architectural choice that made walking simultaneously majestic and mildly nauseating. Finally, we reached the throne hall. Queen Valoria sat upon her elevated seat, flanked by shimmering banners that depicted the Sarin history in threads of light. Her expression was calmer than I expected, though her posture radiated an energy that suggested several council members were currently regretting their life choices. I knelt instinctively, even before the guards could shove me into proper kneeling position. Progress. Rise, she said. I stood, trying not to wobble. Salira waited beside her mother, eyes bright, posture proud. She gave me a small, encouraging nod that suggested she had absolute confidence in me, which was generous considering that I did not share that confidence. Lycan, the Queen began, my investigation has revealed that you were framed. You acted with integrity, skill, and honesty. The true saboteurs have been dealt with. She paused. Decisively. I decided not to ask for details. You are free, she continued. Your name is cleared. Relief washed through me so hard I nearly collapsed again, though this time for positive reasons. But before I could celebrate mentally or physically, the Queen lifted a hand. However, she said, there remains the matter of my daughter's declaration. Salira stepped forward. Mother, my choice has not changed. The Queen studied her, and for a long, silent moment, the entire hall seemed to breathe with them. Then Valoria turned her gaze to me. You have shown courage, she said, and you have treated my daughter with respect rather than opportunism. For this, I acknowledge the bond between you two. But if you are to stand beside her, you must prove yourself worthy of her station. I swallowed. What exactly does that require? I should warn you, I'm terrible at formal dances and moderately worse at politics. Salira whispered, he is being modest. He is disastrous at politics. The Queen's lips twitched in what might have been the ghost of a smile. I require sincerity and commitment. Nothing more. If you promise to honor my daughter, I will not stand in your way. The weight of the moment pressed on me like the silence before hyperjump. I stepped forward, steadying myself. Your Majesty, I don't know what the future holds, but I do know this. Salira changed my life the moment she took my hand in this hall. I will do everything within and beyond my limits to be worthy of her. Salira squeezed my hand, her long ears lifting in unmistakable joy. The Queen nodded once. Formal, regal, final. Then my blessing is given. The hall erupted, not in outrage this time, but in astonished applause, the kind that suggested even the nobles couldn't believe what timeline they were currently living in. Floating lanterns shimmered brighter, adjusting their glow to match the shift in mood. After the ceremony ended, Salira led me onto a high balcony overlooking the glittering capital. Airships drifted in slow arcs, glowing like fireflies across the cityscape. Below us, gravity gardens pulsed with soft bioluminescence. You handled that well, she said. I almost fainted 3 times. 3 is better than 4. We stood together in a quiet that felt softer than any palace luxury. My journey had begun with fear, confusion, and the distinct possibility of execution. Now I stood beside someone who saw value in me where I had never expected to find it. Someone who believed in me. And somewhere in the palace behind us, Queen Valoria was likely reviewing new laws to manage future scandals, which was comforting in its own terrifying way. Salira, I said, whatever comes next, I'm ready. She slipped her fingers into mine, warm and certain. Then the future is ours to build. And for the first time since arriving in the Thessaran capital, I believed her.